Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is having a great day. Good morning from where I am. It is 8:30 a.m. here in Japan. I'm not sure what time it is where you are watching. If you're watching live, welcome. If you're watching on the replay, welcome to you as well. And either way, wherever you're watching from, if you're watching live, if you're watching on the replay, tell me in the comment section where you are watching from. It's always interesting for me to see what countries, what cities people are watching from. Like I said, it's morning here. I'm in Japan, Tokyo, Japan. And usually I always start the lessons off. I've been very lucky. Every live lesson I've been, blessed with really beautiful weather. And I always say that, it's a gorgeous day. It's a beautiful day in Tokyo. But today, I cannot say that. Today, it is super, super cloudy and it's raining. It's been raining. I think it's raining at about 2 a.m. last night because the rain woke me up. And I looked at the weather forecast and it looks like it's going to be raining all day. So I hope the weather is better where you are. It's a terrible day here, but it's a good day to stay home. It's a good day to study English. It's a good day to maybe do some things around the house. So again, welcome to everyone who's watching. I think everybody knows my name is Shailly. It's right on the screen there, and welcome to Shailly's English School. Today's lesson is going to be a little different from yesterday. Yesterday's lesson, we practiced adverbs of frequency. Adverbs of frequency. In today's lesson, we're going to get into a little bit more complex, a little bit more difficult, but very, very useful English lesson. XYZ, good morning. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you're having a good morning. So yes, today's lesson is going to be a little bit more difficult, but it's going to be something that's really, really useful in many situations. Today, what we are going to be studying is instead of. Instead of. All right, so this is it sounds like it's going to be difficult to use, but it's actually pretty easy. And it's really useful. We use it in a lot of situations when we're traveling, when we're shopping, when we're speaking with coworkers. So it is a very useful lesson. As always, I will be sharing my screen and I'll put the lesson on the screen for you to look at. And let's jump right into it. Let's start with the lesson. And I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully there are no issues with sharing. And there aren't. All right, today, instead of. All right, so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. I would say this probably advanced grammar, maybe high intermediate to advanced grammar. But it's actually really easy. It's not that difficult to use. So let's go over what instead of means. So we're going to go over the meaning of this first. And basically, instead of means in place of. In place of. So that's what instead of means. It just means in place of. Now, maybe the grammar pattern below will help you to understand it a little easier. So now we'll go piece by piece here. So with instead of, the person, the subject of the sentence, they want to do one action. They want to do a specific action. Then on the other side, it's the action they don't want to do. They don't want to do. So one action I want, or one noun I want, but the other one I don't want. And how we can use that is we put instead of in the middle. So that's the easiest way. You start with, this is something I want, instead of, and then something I don't want. Okay, so let's look at the example sentence. The example sentence says, the situation is, I don't want to eat the leftover chicken for dinner. I don't want to eat the leftover chicken for dinner. I want to eat fish. I want to eat fish. So this is something I want. So this will go here. Well, let's try to do that better. Let's get a proper arrow here. Okay, that's going to go right here. And I don't want the leftover chicken. So that can go right here. And we sandwich it with instead of. So if we look at the answer, we've got, I will eat fish instead of the leftover chicken. I will eat fish instead of the leftover chicken. You could also change the verb. It could be, I want to eat fish instead of the leftover chicken. I'm going to eat fish instead of the leftover chicken. If it was the past tense, I ate fish instead of the leftover chicken. All right, so that's how we are doing this lesson. We want one thing, we don't want the other, and we put instead of in the middle. Now, before we move on to the next example, and I'm going to make this a little bit cleaner for people to see. What does this mean? Leftover chicken. I've said that a couple of times now. What does that mean? Does anybody in the comment section understand what this means? Or anybody who's watching, do you understand what this means? If you do, put it into the comment section. So again, leave all of your lessons, or so your answers, in the comment section. Does anybody understand what leftover chicken means? I'll make it really big onto the screen here. Leftover chicken. Leftover is a very common word we use, especially when we're talking about food. Leftover chicken. Okay, so it seems like maybe some people are typing, but I'll give the answer for this. Oh, XYZ, you beat me to the jump. Leftover is the food you couldn't finish. That is correct. That is correct. It's the food you couldn't finish. So all of us, we sometimes cook some food and we make a lot of it. And I can't finish all of the food. So we usually wrap it up and then we put it into the refrigerator. And we can eat this another time, maybe the next meal, maybe tomorrow for breakfast or for lunch or for dinner the next day. That is called leftover food. Leftover food. Okay, so leftover food is the food that we cannot finish and maybe we will eat it at another time. So in the example sentence, maybe I cooked chicken the night before, but I don't want to eat that today. I'm tired of chicken. I want fish. So I'll eat fish instead of the leftover chicken. Okay, let's look at the next example. This is a past example. The sentence says, I wanted to stay home this weekend. I wanted to stay home, but my wife said we must go shopping. My wife said we must go shopping. So in that situation, maybe the wife is the winner. The wife is the winner. So my sentence is, we are going shopping instead of staying home. We are going shopping instead of staying home. So this is the action that we will be doing. This is the action we will be doing. This is the action we will not be doing. All right, so let's put that here. The action we will do. And this is the action we will not do. So that is another way to look at this grammar. Action we will do instead of action we will not do. Good morning, YFS. How are you today? Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm not sure when you jumped on, but today we're studying instead of. And we've just gone over how to make the sentence so far. We haven't practiced making any of the sentences. So don't worry if you joined late. This is still the beginning of the lesson. There's still lots more to go, and everybody will get a chance to speak English. Okay, so let's look at last little part of instead of. Let's look at the grammar, last part of the grammar. So far, and I recommend is we are putting instead of in the middle. We put it in the middle. But it's also possible instead of can go at the beginning of the sentence or the end of the sentence. Okay, so we could put it at the beginning or we could put it at the end. Now, let's look at our example below here. It says, I want cake for dessert. I don't want pie. I don't want pie. I want cake. So, if you want to put instead at the beginning of a sentence, we need to have two sentences. So the first sentence is what you don't want or the action you don't want to do. So I don't want pie for dessert. Then in the next sentence, we start it with instead, I'll have a piece of cake. Instead, I'll have a piece of cake. Or instead, I want cake. Now, if you notice, okay, there's a very important part here. The of is missing. We don't use of. Okay, so be careful with that. Now, let's look at where we use instead at the end of the sentence. Now, the example, the situation says, my salad comes with blue cheese dressing. My salad comes with blue cheese dressing. Maybe I don't like blue cheese dressing. Some people don't like blue cheese dressing. I want Caesar dressing. I want Caesar dressing. So in this one, maybe I'm at a restaurant. So I'm going to order a Cobb salad. So I say to the waiter or wait, I'd like Cobb salad. Then my next sentence is I'm going to say, can I get Caesar dressing instead? Can I get Caesar dressing instead? So over here, there is some missing information instead of blue cheese dressing. But the blue cheese dressing, this is decided. It's already, it's logical to know that the blue cheese dressing comes with the Cobb salad. The waiter knows. So I don't need to say it. If the other person knows the topic, knows the noun, you don't need to say it. Okay, does that make sense? A lot of times in English, if the person you're speaking to knows the topic, then we don't say that word. We just remove it. It's understood. All right, so I'd like the Cobb salad. Can I get Caesar dressing instead? Can I get Caesar dressing instead? Now, this is great. And I really recommend that you learn this one sentence. Can I get something instead? This is such a useful question, especially in restaurants. Now, I'm not sure where you live, but if you don't know me, I was born in Canada. I grew up in Canada, but I also lived in America for a long time. Most of my upbringing was Canada, and then I lived years in Los Angeles. And one of the things I really noticed about living in Canada and America in the restaurant industry was restaurants in those countries, a lot of them are very, very flexible. They really will do anything to make the customer happy. So any type of substitution that you want, it is quite possible in an American or Canadian restaurant. Could be very common in your country's restaurants as well. I'm not sure. I can only speak for America and Canada, but it's really common, and it's not a big deal. It's different. I live in Japan now, and it's very tough to change, ingredients in the menu dishes. So if you're traveling to Canada, if you're traveling to America, please remember this question. I know one of the common ones that everybody in America, everybody in Canada, it's a lot of people will do is, can I get white meat instead? Okay. And if you don't want to say white meat, some people will say chicken breast instead. Now, if I go to like a Thai restaurant or a Chinese restaurant or a lot of different restaurants, a lot of times the chicken is going to be the brown meat. The brown meat is going to be the thigh or the leg. And white meat is the chicken breast. It's the healthier meat. And in Canadian culture, in American culture, a lot of people prefer the chicken breast. Maybe it's because it's healthier, maybe because it's not as oily, maybe they just like the taste. So it's very common to hear this question in a restaurant. And I've been to many, many, many restaurants in my life in Canada and America. And I've said this in the restaurant. Can I get white meat instead? And they've never said no. I think most restaurants understand that, in this area, in this country, in this culture, people like the chicken breast. So they always prepare. They always have chicken breast available. So in restaurants, don't be shy to use this question. All right. So far, so good. Does everybody understand what's going on? Do you understand grammar. Today's, I would recommend just putting instead in the middle, right? Putting instead in the middle. It's going to be the action, again, that you do instead of, and then the action that you don't do. All right, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section. And it's okay to ask questions about something I've already talked about. That's fine. I know people are typing on their smartphones or maybe tablets, so it takes a little bit of time. Maybe you're busy. It's, making breakfast or running around. Yeah, whenever you have time, if you have a question, just leave it in the comment section. And all of those who are watching on the replay, you can ask any questions you want. I always will answer any of your comments. And while you're asking those questions, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you're subscribing. I do a lot of live lessons, or I've been doing a lot of live lessons recently, and I plan to continue doing that. My goal is to have at least 3 times a week a live lesson where I can teach, anybody who wants to improve their English, I can teach you for free. Fisa, Ohio, thank you so much for joining me. It's always great to have a Japanese student with me. Thank you so much. I hope you are enjoying the lesson so far. So we've gone over the grammar. Now let's go over making some sentences. We're just going to make simple instead of sentences. I'd like you to put instead of in the middle. The first one we will do together, or in fact, I will do the first one for you. And then the rest, 2, 3, 4, you will do it. And I want everybody, I really encourage you, type your answers or speak your answers as well. Repeat what I am saying. Shadow my English. That really helps your fluency. So in this situation, we're just going to add instead of. We have 2 sentences. Let's join them using instead of. So number 1 says, and when I'm reading number 1, please read along with me. Please read along with me because it really helps your speaking. And before we go, XYZ, you had a question. Can I have Caesar dressing instead of blue cheese dressing? Perfect. Perfect. You put it in the middle. That is a perfect question. Can I have Caesar dressing instead of blue cheese dressing? Okay, excellent. Good job, XYZ. So now number 1 says, I ate pasta. I ate pasta for lunch. So I don't want to eat it for dinner. I don't want to eat it for dinner. I want steak. I don't want pasta. I want steak. So now remember, and I'm going to put it right here. All right, so we're going to do action you will do plus instead of plus action you won't do. Okay, so that's the pattern we're going to use. Action you'll do instead of action you won't do. So for me, in this sentence, number 1, I would join them, and I'm going to make a future sentence. So I will eat steak for dinner instead of pasta. I will eat steak for dinner instead of pasta. Now, I don't need to use all of the words from the sentences. I can just choose the words that I need. And in this situation, I'm using noun and noun, so steak and pasta. Okay, so let's try number 2. Now, this number 2 is going to be your chance. I'd like you to look at the information, and I'd like you to join the 2 ideas and use instead of. And I'll keep moving this down for everybody so you can see what you're doing here. And maybe we'll change that color to a nice purple or something. Okay, so my husband and I wanted to go to the Maldives for our vacation, but it was too expensive. We decided on Vietnam. We wanted to go to the Maldives, but it was too expensive. So the decision was to go to Vietnam. So let's join those two ideas and let's use instead. Okay, so remember, this is the pattern you'll be using. And take your time, write your answers. Okay, so wow. Okay, so we've got XYZ. You said, we decided to go to Vietnam for our vacation instead of going to Maldives. Excellent, excellent. My husband and I decided to go to Vietnam instead of Maldives for our vacation. YFS, also excellent. Both of you had a perfect answer. You reworded the sentences, but they were perfect. And I want to go back to XYZ's because she used instead of going. And I do have to mention, I forgot to say this during the grammar, and sorry for scrolling so fast. But if you notice, if you're using a verb in the second part of the sentence, make sure it is ing. Make sure it's an ing verb. All right, so XYZ, your answer was perfect. We decided to go to Vietnam for our vacation instead of going to the Maldives. YFS, your answer was also amazing. You changed the order and you just used noun and noun. So my husband and I decided to go to Vietnam instead of Maldives for our vacation. Perfect, perfect answer. So has anybody ever been to the Maldives? I have never been. It's somewhere I really want to go. I hope I can go there someday. If you have been to the Maldives, say yes, I have, and let me know how it is in the comment section. All right, let's look at number 3. Number 3, again, we're going to use the same pattern. So number 3 says, I spent most of my money, so I could only buy a card for my friend's birthday. I wanted to buy something nice, but I spent all of my money. Maybe, I went shopping, bought some new hats, some new clothes. I got no money. So the only thing I could buy my friend was a measly old card. Let's join these two ideas using instead. XYZ, no, you've never been to the Maldives. Yeah, me neither. I really, really want to go. I really want to go to those little cottages that are right on the water. That would be amazing. Waking up to, just the ocean, this crystal blue, clear water. I think that would be a great, relaxing vacation. All right, so I wanted to buy something nice for my friend, but unfortunately, I only bought him a birthday card. That's because I spent all of my money. I had no money. And you can join these in any way you want. So I spent most of my money. All I could afford was a card. That's what I got him. And I'll give everybody a few more seconds to answer before I give you my answer. And if you notice, this is all in the past tense. So I would recommend making a past tense sentence. But if your sentence is about the future, of something you will do in the future, maybe talking about your spending habits, maybe that's your sentence. Yeah, it could be the future. My answer for this is yeah, I only bought my friend a card instead of something nice. I only bought my friend a card instead of something nice. XYZ, your answer. I bought my friend a car instead of buying something nice. Perfect. 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 That's great. Again, you used ing. Because you used the verb, you used the ing form, which is perfect. Now, I mentioned future. Maybe I want to make a future sentence. So in my future sentence, maybe it's not talking about what I bought, but I'm going to talk about my own behavior. So I will be more responsible with my money instead of spending it all. I'll be more responsible with my money instead of spending it all. So that's my promise to myself. I'll be more responsible with my money. Okay, now let's look at the last one. Number 4. Number 4 says, in France, when people greet each other, they kiss. They don't shake hands. They don't shake hands. And of course, I'm sure in France, some people shake hands. But when I was in Paris, I noticed that friends, whenever they would see each other, greet each other, meet each other, they would often kiss each other on the cheek. US and Canada, I think a handshake is more common. So let's join those two sentences. Again, we'll be using the action that you do instead of versus the action you don't do. So for you, what is your answer for this sentence? And again, take your time. If you're not typing these answers, make sure you're speaking these answers at home. The more active you are with your speaking, the faster it is for you to improve. I live in Japan, and when I first came to Japan, I couldn't speak any Japanese. Like, I mean, zero. And for the first, I would say 8 months, 9 months, I tried to speak a little bit, but basically no. I would just take it in, and in my mind, I was speaking, but I never improved. I never was able to actually speak Japanese. There were a lot of reasons. I was nervous. I didn't want to make a mistake. I was unsure of my answers. Basically fear was one of the biggest reasons. But then one day I just decided, it's okay. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. That's how I'll learn. Nobody's going to laugh at me. People living in Japan are very friendly. They're not going to laugh at my Japanese. They'll probably, in fact, try to help me. So I decided just to not be afraid and speak. And I looked for any opportunity to try to speak. You know, when I was buying something at the supermarket, when I was speaking, even at home, just watching TV, I would try to repeat what the TV was saying. And I'm not a fluent speaker. I'm not a native Japanese speaker, but I can speak Japanese. And I think it's because I became more active. So if you're at home, if you're watching this lesson live or on the replay, just be as active as you can in any situation. So while you're watching this, speak your answers out, type your answers out, do both. That's going to be even better. Okay, I digress. Let's go back to number 4. We got a couple of answers. YFS, you said, in France, people greet with kisses instead of shaking hands. What a great sentence. What a great sentence. That's perfect. A perfect sentence. XYZ. In France, people greet each other kisses instead of shaking hands. Almost. So we just needed, in France, people greet each other with kisses instead of shaking hands. So we need with kisses. You know, there are many possible answers for this. You know, maybe the way you said it, maybe the way you wrote it is different. Maybe you said, in France, when people meet, they kiss instead of shaking hands. Okay, that could be another way you wrote that answer. They all have the same meaning. So there can be many possible answers. So don't worry if yours is a little bit different. That doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay, excellent job. Let's, you know, I think using instead of in the middle is the most common, and that's how I recommend it in today's lesson. But we should practice how to use instead at the end. We should practice it a little bit because it's important to have variety when you speak. So in this sentence, I want you to make 2 sentences. So you make one sentence, and then the second sentence, the last word is going to be instead. Okay. We're not going to use of in this situation. So remember, it's only instead. So I'll do the first one, and then you guys do the next 3. So number 1, it says, I usually rent movies on my Apple TV instead of renting them from a store. Now, in Japan, they still have video stores or DVD stores. But, you know, for me, it's always, I rent it on my TV. I rent it on my Apple TV. Now, in this sentence, instead of is in the middle, I'm going to put it at the end. I'll make 2 sentences. So my sentence will be, you know, I never rent movies from a store. Then that's my first sentence. My second sentence will be, I always rent them on Apple TV instead. Okay, so instead is going to be the last word. So again, 2 sentences. I never rent movies from a store. I always rent them on Apple TV instead. Okay, so next is your turn. Number 2, we've got a sentence. I rode my bicycle to the station instead of walking. I rode my bicycle to the station instead of walking. For me, this station, because I live in Japan, it means the train station. It could be the bus station, but most likely for station, it means train. Bus is more bus stop, and station is train station. So I rode my bicycle to the station instead of walking. Let's join these 2 sentences. Let's actually not join them. We're going to make 2 sentences, and second sentence, the last word will be instead. So, what is your answer? What are your 2 sentences? Okay, so remember in this, we really want instead to be at the at the very end. And I'll give everybody a little bit more time to answer. And then I'll give you my version. And remember, there's more than one answer. Everybody at home, make sure you're speaking. I cannot say that enough. So, yeah, as I was saying, when I started to actually actively try to speak Japanese, it was amazing at how fast I improved. Like I went from 0 to like boom in such a short time, just because I tried speaking. And I know some of you are probably going to say, yeah, well, Shailly, you live in Japan. There's a lot of opportunity. That's true. That's true. I'm lucky I live in Japan, so I have a huge chance to speak Japanese. But when I lived, I lived in Japan. This is my second time. The first time I lived in Japan is when I started to be able to speak Japanese. And between those 2 times, I lived in the US. And in the US, I still actively tried to find places where I could speak Japanese, places where I was able to converse. I would go to Japanese supermarkets, I would find Japanese shops just to practice. And I made a habit of it. So, wherever you are, there's always going to be a chance for you to speak English and practice. XYZ has an answer for us. I never walk to the station. There's a spelling mistake there, but I know what you're saying. I ride my bicycle instead. Yeah, I never walk to the station. I ride my bicycle instead. Perfect. YFS says, I never walk to the station. I always ride my bicycle instead. Very good. Very good. Excellent answers. For me, my answer for this, both YFS and XYZ, you guys made routine present tense sentences, which is great. I'm going to make a past sentence. So maybe I'm going to say, I didn't walk to the station. So I'm just talking about last situation, yesterday. I didn't walk to the station. I rode my bicycle instead. I didn't walk to the station. I rode my bicycle instead. So this is not every time. This was just the last time. Maybe I was late. So I was looking at my watch. It's like, oh no, I might be late. If I walk, I will definitely be late. So I rode my bicycle instead. Okay, let's move on. Number three. Number three is great. There's some extra vocabulary in number three. Number three says, she decided to save her money for a rainy day instead of spending it on new clothes. She decided to save her money for a rainy day instead of spending it on new clothes. Now, before we make a sentence, let's look at this vocabulary word, a rainy day. Oh, I've just erased the vocabulary word. Okay, rainy day. Now, rainy day does not mean like my weather today. My weather right now, it's raining, but that's not what this means. This has a different meaning. This is a noun, a rainy day. So does anybody know what this vocabulary word means? What does a rainy day mean? And maybe we can try to understand from the sentence. She decided to save her money for a rainy day instead of spending it on new clothes. So rainy day, often we're using money. Money. When we talk about rainy days, we're often talking about money. Here, it's saving money. So she decided to save her money for a rainy day instead of spending it on new clothes. Now, in this situation, rainy day means a unexpected emergency. It's an unexpected emergency. Okay. So you can say emergency or a problem, maybe I would say. An unexpected emergency or problem. XYZ days that you have less money. Yeah. And those days are days that you have a problem. Right. So we often will call that kind of rainy day money. Rainy day money. Right. So a rainy day, I'm going to put that on the screen for you. Rainy day money. Now, this means that it's money that I am saving, I'm putting it aside, and I'm keeping it just in case there is an emergency or a big problem. Then I can use that money to help solve the problem. For instance, I think everybody right now in your house, I think you probably all have a refrigerator. Right? Everybody has a refrigerator. I'm hoping everybody has a refrigerator. And unfortunately, sometimes refrigerators suddenly break. When a refrigerator suddenly breaks, that's a big problem. That's an emergency. And refrigerators are not cheap. They are expensive. So if you don't have any rainy day money, that means it might be a problem for you to buy that refrigerator. So we save money for these types of situations. So that's called rainy day, an unexpected emergency or problem. So the sentence is, she decided to save her money for a rainy day instead of spending it on new clothes. Yes. Yeah, it's the problem days, the emergency days, XYZ. So what will your answer for this be? She decided to save her money for a rainy day instead of buying new clothes or spending it on new clothes. And I'll give you my answer in a second. I want everybody to give a chance. If you want to type your answer, I will give you that chance to type. But I do know a lot of people are watching this on replay as well. So I'll try to speed it up for all of you as well. And my answer could be different from yours. So if you have a different answer, don't worry, just type it into the comment section. So for me, my answer for this, she decided to save her money for a rainy day instead of spending it on new clothes. So I didn't, or we'll use she. She didn't go shopping. That's my first sentence. It's very simple. I didn't say spending it on new clothes. I just said she didn't go shopping. She decided to save her money for a rainy day instead. She decided to save her money for a rainy day instead. XYZ, she didn't spend money on her new clothes. She saved the money for a rainy day instead. Perfect. Perfect answer, XYZ. Well done. Okay, let's look at the next one. And while we're moving on to number 4 and 5, if you want to share your answer for a previous question, for 3, for 2, for 1, it's okay. Please type it in. I will go back. I can see all the comments on my screen. So I can go back and check your answer and put it on the screen. Number 4, he will look for a job instead of going to university. He will look for a job instead of going to university. So this guy is not going to university. He's going to look for a job. How do we make that sentence with instead at the end? All right, and then whenever you have your answer, let's just put it into the comment section. He will look for a job instead of going to university. Let's rephrase this with instead at the end. And while everybody's typing, I will get my prompt ready to put my answer in as well. All right, so he will look for a job instead of going to university. My answer for this, he won't go to university. Yeah. He will look for a job instead. He won't go to university. He will look for a job instead. All right, so instead is at the end. He doesn't want to go to university. He wants to get straight into the workplace. Okay, number 5. Number 5. I think I'll get an espresso instead of a coffee. I think I'll get an espresso instead of a coffee. So let's make a new sentence and make a new sort of 2 sentences with instead of at the end. XYZ, you have an answer. He will not go to university, a university. He will look for a job instead. Perfect. Perfect answer, XYZ. And I'm glad you shared your answer with us. Good job. So number 5 is I think I'll get an espresso instead of a coffee. I'm going to make this one more difficult. All right, I'm going to say it one more time. I think I'll get an espresso instead of a coffee. Now, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Okay, I'm not going to let you look at the words. Try to use your memory and make 2 sentences. Second sentence should have instead at the very end. Okay, so try to remember what that sentence was. Rephrase it with instead at the end. And we do have one more section coming up. The next section is actually the most challenging section. So far, I've been giving you all of the information, and you've just put it together using what I will do in the next section is I'll give you just a scenario, and you need to make a sentence using instead of, and you need to have your own thoughts. So XYZ says, I will not get a coffee. I will get espresso. And instead, she also corrected herself, or he corrected. I'm not sure if XYZ is she or he. An espresso. Yes. Yes. Very good. So I will not get a coffee. I'll get an espresso instead. That is perfect. Let me share my screen for everyone again. Okay, share it so everybody can see. So the original sentence was, I think I'll get an espresso instead of coffee. Now, many answers for this. XYZ, your answer was perfect. Your answer was perfect. I might change mine. Mine might be a little bit different. Maybe talking with my friend, and I say to my friend, I don't think coffee today. I think I'll get an espresso instead. I don't think I get a coffee today. I think I'll get an espresso instead. Now, another that you will often see instead is you have a conversation. Now, let's have the same scenario. We've got two people. We've got friends, A and B. So maybe A looks to her friend or his friend, says, are you getting a coffee? Now, maybe her friend or his friend always gets coffee, right? So are you getting a coffee? And person B, the friend, says, I'm going to get an espresso instead. So here it's just one sentence, because in the conversation, A has introduced the coffee. So B will just have the one sentence, I'm going to get an espresso instead. All right, so that's how you can see it in conversation as well. In conversation, when you're talking with friends, you might just use it in one sentence, and that's it. Okay, now let's move to the difficult part, the more challenging part. And this is where you will be making more sentences with less information. So like here, it says, I'm running late for work. I'm running late for work. I usually walk to work. I usually walk to work. Right now, I'm running late for work. Now, first, let's understand the sentence. Let's understand the situation. I'm running late. In English, it doesn't mean I'm running. So I'm not running. I'm running late. This has a special meaning. So I'm running late. And I'll put it right here. Put it at the very top of the lesson here. I'm running late equals I am late. I am late. I will be late. Now, if I know, oh no, I'm late. I will be late. I cannot arrive on time. Then you might maybe message your boss on your phone and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm running late." Okay, this means you are late. So right now, I've noticed, okay, I'm running late for work. I usually walk to work. Using this information please make a sentence using instead of. Have your own idea. How would you make a sentence using instead of for this situation? Okay, Fusa, you've got a lot of Japanese here. Now, I said I could speak Japanese. My reading is not the great. Okay, I think she said, Fusa, she, sounds like she, is looking forward to the lesson. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And, thank you for joining. It's my pleasure. I enjoy doing these lessons. All right, so how do we join these two sentences? Or not join them, sorry. How do we make an instead sentence with, I'm running late for work, I usually walk to work? And it's up to you. If you want to put instead in the middle, that's fine. If you want to put instead at the end, that's also fine. If you want to put instead at the beginning, that's also fine. Now, remember, if you're using a verb, I'd like you to have ing with that verb, okay? So it must be an ing form for the verb instead of plus a verb ing. Also, it could be a noun. If you wanted to have a noun, you could put a noun as well. Okay, so I'm going to give you my answer for this. And I'm going to put instead at the very beginning of the sentence. Okay, I'm going to put it at the very beginning of the sentence. I'm going to say, instead of walking to work, I'm going to take a cab. Instead of walking to work, I'm going to take a cab. And you notice I put a comma in that sentence. We're separating it with a comma. I could give more information. Maybe I could say, because I'm running late. Instead of walking to work, I'm going to take a cab because I'm running late. What does a cab mean? Does anybody know what a cab means? While you are thinking of cab, I'm going to put XYZ answer on to the screen. I usually, be careful your spelling, but I'm sure you're typing on a smartphone. That's why. I usually walk to work, but I'm running late today, so I grab taxi instead. Almost perfect. YFS taxi. YFS cab taxi. XYZ. YFS is taxi. Yes, you're correct. Cab. My sentence, cab means taxi. Cab means taxi. And let's go back to your answer, XYZ. I usually walk to work, but I'm running late today, so I grab taxi instead. All I want you to do in this is I want you to add one more word. I want you to add will. I will grab a taxi instead. I will grab a taxi instead. Because your sentence is present tense, so we want, in this situation, I will grab a taxi instead. Great sentence, though. Very, very, very good sentence. So you use a lot of really good joining words, a lot of conjunctions, but and so. Well done. All right, so now let's look at One sec. Let's remove this from the screen. Let's look at number 2. Okay. Number 2 says, I need some lemon for a recipe, but I don't have any in my house. I don't have any lemon in my house. I need it for a recipe. I'm cooking something. And I do not want to go to the supermarket because it's raining. It's raining outside. I don't want to go anywhere. But I need lemon. So, if there are any cooks or chefs watching, what is your answer for this sentence? Please make a sentence using instead of. YFS, which one do you usually use for writing? Taxi or cab? I think depends who you're writing to. If you are writing a more formal document, if you're writing, to a colleague, a coworker in a business situation, please use taxi. Cab is a little bit more common in conversation. Taxi is probably more common in writing. Very good question. So taxi in writing, cab when you're speaking. So I need some lemon for a recipe. I don't have any. I don't want to go to the supermarket. It's raining outside. I don't want to get wet. It's cold. Or maybe I'm just lazy. I don't want to go outside. So what could I do? What is a good sentence using instead or instead of? All right, and I'm going to put my answer. Wow, answer. My pronunciation was very like New Jersey style. I'm going to give everybody a couple more seconds. And while I do that, I want to. I had a crazy dream last night. I had a dream that I don't know, for some reason, maybe I was trimming my beard. You can see that I have a beard. I was trimming it, and I made it. I had an accident. I sort of cut more of an area, so I actually shaved one part, so it looked strange. There was an area where there was no hair, so then I decided to shave it all off, and it was such a realistic dream. It was so real that this morning when I woke up, the first thing I did was I touched my face to see, do I still have a beard? Yeah, it was crazy. But I am thinking of shaving this beard. What are your thoughts on that? Yes or no? Yes or no? Let me know. If you're watching live, let me know in the replay. What do you think? Yes or no? Shave it? Don't shave it? Most of my life, I haven't had a beard. This is kind of like a COVID beard. I was always wearing a mask, so I just let it grow. So, but I'm thinking about doing it. But yeah, I'd like to hear your opinion. Okay, we got an answer here from YFS. I use Uber instead of going to the supermarket. Okay, and again, make sure we use I will use Uber or past tense I used Uber. We don't want to use present tense because if we use present tense, that means it's a regular action. It's a routine. That means I never go to the supermarket. I always use Uber. All right. This is a great answer, YFS. I completely forgot that Uber can deliver things now. I wonder if they could deliver a lemon. That would be interesting. But yeah, great answer. I will use Uber instead of going to the supermarket. Nice. XYZ, you have an answer. I used vinegar instead of lemon. Wow. So we have a cook or a chef watching, I think. I think that's a great idea, using vinegar instead of lemon. They both have that acidic property to it. All right. I like it. I'll put that in there. For me as well, I would use vinegar. Or completely different answer. I will order in instead of cooking. All right. If I'm going to be super lazy, then yeah, I'll just order in instead of cooking. Okay. Order in means you are going to be calling a restaurant, ordering something, and they will deliver it to your house. So we say, I will order in. Now, it's very different. Sometimes maybe you've heard, I will get takeout. I will get takeout. Takeout is different. Takeout means you go to the restaurant, you order, you get the food, you take it outside of the restaurant and go home. So you are the one doing the moving of the food. Oh, and sorry, that's my espresso machine cleaning it. I'm sorry if it's too noisy. So yeah, make sure you know the two. Order in. Order in is there, you're going to call the restaurant and someone will deliver the food to you. And then takeout means you go and get it. So Uber, you're ordering in. Takeout is you go and get it. Okay, very good, very good. If there are any questions about ordering in or taking out, please let me know. Wife has no worries. Yeah, thank you. Espresso, lattes, and coffee, they are very much a big part of my morning. Every morning I need my espresso, or I need a cup of coffee in the morning. And I forgot that I didn't turn the machine off. So I apologize, but thank you, YFS. Number three. We'll do a few more. We'll do three more. Let's go 3, 4, 5. Number 3. I'm at the movie theater with my friend, and she sits down in the front row. She sits down in the front row. I don't like the front row. I don't like the front row. I don't know who likes the front row. I know some people do, but I don't like it. So in this situation, what will I say to my friend? What will I say to my friend? And let's use the word instead or instead of. And has anybody here ever sat in the front row? I have. One time, I watched a horror movie in the front row because the movie was basically sold out. And when I watched the movie, that movie theater didn't have assigned seating. They didn't have assigned seating. In that movie theater, it was first come, first serve. First come, first serve. That's a really good one too. First come, first serve. I'm going to put it onto the screen here while you guys are all thinking. First come, first serve. First come, first serve. This means whoever arrives first can do something first. So kind of first come, first sit, I guess. But yeah, first come, first serve. That means whoever arrives early can choose where they want to sit. I arrived late. The only option was the front seat. So I had to watch the movie like this for 2 hours, and it was terrible. I do not recommend that. Okay, so you're at the theater. Your friend sits in the front row. Of course, you don't want to sit in the front row. What will you say to your friend? And again, let's use instead of and I'll give you my answer. It could be completely different than yours. For me, I'll say to my friend, "Are you crazy? Let's sit at the back instead." And maybe I'm very animated, so I've got the exclamation point there. Are you crazy? Let's sit at the back instead. Or you can say in the back as well. All right, let me just get the screen. And XYZ. Let's watch. Yeah, you could do this one. I like XYZ. Let's watch the movie separately instead of watching together because I can't do the front row. I like that. I can't do. That's a very, very native English speaker like comment or sentence. I can't do. I can't do just means I don't want to do this. That's not my habit. This is a great sentence, XYZ. Let's watch the movie separately instead of watching together because I can't do the front row. If you wanted to use another sentence, I can't sit in the front row. That's the same meaning, but I like that. I can't do the front row. YFS, you have an answer. I will watch the movie in the back this time instead of sitting in the front row. In the front row. Yes, so that's what you say to your friend. Both of you guys are sitting separately. I guess mine is no nicer. I'm saying to my friend, "Are you crazy? Let's sit at the back instead." But in my sentence, I will sit together with my friend. I'm encouraging my friend to move to the back. But both XYZ, YFS, great answers. Very funny. That was really funny. All right, number 4. I'm always tired at work. I'm always tired at work because I go to the gym before work. So I go to the gym before work. So I'm at work. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. So let's make a sentence, maybe make a suggestion. If this is me, what's the suggestion for me? What's your advice for me? And let's use instead of. And I'll give everybody some time. I'm always tired at work because I go to the gym before work. You know, I used to do that. I used to go to the gym before going to my school. And yeah, I was always tired. So I decided to do something different. In fact, now I don't go to the gym. That's the perfect solution. So I'm always tired at work because I go to the gym before work. What is your advice or suggestion for me? And I'm going to give you my suggestion after we look at XYZ's answer. You should go to the gym after work instead of before work. Perfect. Perfect grammar, perfect answer. You're giving me advice. So you picked up on my question. I said, give me advice. If you give advice, we should be using the verb should. That's the most common way to give advice. There are other ways, but should is the most common. So XYZ, you should go to the gym after work instead of before work. I also said you could give me a suggestion. You could give me a suggestion. And for me, let's make that my answer. I'm going to give a suggestion. Why don't you go to the gym after work? instead of before work. And a suggestion, but it is a question because I'm beginning it with why. Why do I go to the gym after work instead of before work? Okay. And YFS, your answer, you need to go to work before instead of gym. Okay, I get what you're saying. Maybe in this sentence, I would say you need to work. You need to go to maybe work. You need to work before. I would remove before. You need to work instead of going to the gym, or you need to finish work. That's it. I would say that you need to finish work instead of going to the gym. All right, that would work. You need to finish work instead of going to the gym. Okay. Very good. Very good. Now, let's do one more. Last one. Last one. This is your last chance to be speaking at home, to be writing online with me. And of course, everybody who's watching this on the leave all of your answers in the comment section. And if you're a subscriber, you know what to do. Number 5, I need a quiet place to study, but my house is too noisy. My house is too noisy. Maybe I live in an apartment. The walls are thin. Neighbors are noisy. They're playing a lot of music. It's difficult to study at home. So in this situation, what would we say? What sentence could you make using instead or instead of? And I'll give everybody a few more minutes. And I'm going to give my answer. I think it's good if I put in my answer or different answers that I might say as well. But I'll give everybody a chance to put their answers in, and then I'll include mine, or I might just give you my answer first. So I need a quiet place to study. My house is too noisy. My house is too noisy. So in that situation, we're going to make a sentence using instead. And I'm going to use mine a little bit different. I'll start mine first. And I'm going to put mine at the beginning of the sentence. Instead of studying at home where it is noisy, why don't you go to a library? So I've added a suggestion as well. Instead of studying at home, it's noisy, why don't you go to a library? Now, YFS, you have an answer for us as well. I should go to the quiet place to study instead of staying at home to study. Almost perfect. Not the, a quiet place. Again, I do plan, I haven't done it yet. I do plan doing a lesson with the difference between and the. I do plan on doing that lesson. It is confusing. And just to review, if some of you have already heard my explanation, if you're new and this is your first time, the difference between and the is the listener's point of view. Whoever you are talking to, if they know the noun that you're talking about. So in this situation, it's quiet place. If I know the quiet place, then you use the. But I don't know the quiet place. This is the first time to hear about a quiet place. So in that situation, it should be a quiet place. If the listener doesn't know, please use a. If the listener knows, please use the. YFS, your house is too noisy. You should go to a library to study instead. A library. I don't know which library. So it should be a library instead. YFS, great. You did 2 sentences. You did it at the end. This is great because we have 3 answers, and instead is at different positions. Mine is at the beginning. Instead of studying at home where it's noisy, why don't you go to a library? Then YFS is at the end. Your house is too noisy. You should go to a library to study instead. And then XYZ's was in the middle. You should go to a quiet place to study instead of staying home to study. Now, also XYZ, that final to study, we don't need it. You've already said to study. We don't need to say it 2 times. Okay, great job. Very, very good. I hope everybody at home also, whoever's watching, I hope you tried speaking these answers. I hope you tried writing them down. Even if you didn't share it with me, that's fine. Everybody who's watching on the replay, share with me. And you know what? In fact, I have a great activity. I'm going to give everybody some homework so I can see your answers. Your homework, 1 sentence. You have to put it into the comment section so I can check. Let's see. Which one do I want to do? Let's do number 6. Number 6 says, my friends and I are going to a musical and then dinner after. Okay, my friends and I are going to a musical and then dinner after the musical. But the musical starts at 9 p.m. All right, so that will be a very late dinner. Most musicals are about 2 hours. So that means dinner's at 11:30, midnight. So in this situation, please make a sentence using instead of. Okay, please make a sentence using instead of. And for this, you have to put your answer in the comments. And for everybody watching right now live, don't put it in yet. I want you to put it in during the replay when the live is done. That way everybody has a chance. I don't want to do the answer to anyone. If you share it now, then people who are watching later will see the answer. So share it with me after the live and put it in the comment section. I will check everybody's answers. Again, my friends and I are going to a musical and then dinner after. The musical starts at 9 p.m., so that means it's going to be a very late dinner. All right. So I've got a comment here. YFS says, why don't you question doesn't come up in my head easily? Native speakers use it a lot in their daily conversation. XYZ, same here. Yeah, why don't you is a very common suggestion. So I want to give you a phrase. I want to give you advice. And you should is very, very common. But a lot of native speakers don't like to always use one way to speak. We like variety. So instead of advice, I'm going to give you an idea. Advice is a little bit stronger. An idea, suggestion is a little bit weaker. It's a little bit more friendly. So why don't you is very common. Not only why don't you, we could say why don't we? Why don't we? It's a suggestion for both of us. Does that, yeah, I think just try using it, YFS. Why don't you? I think once you use it a couple of times, it becomes quite natural. So don't worry, you'll get there. You'll get there. Don't be discouraged. XYZ, you mean you want us to write your answer later in the comment for number 6? Yes. So number 6, which is on the screen right now, it says, my friends are going to a musical and then dinner after the musical. But the musical begins at 9 p.m. So that means the dinner will be really late. So I want you to make a sentence using instead of. Don't put it in the answers now. I don't want it anybody who's watching on the replay. During the replay, you can see everybody's comments. So I don't want to give the answer away. So don't write it now. When I sign off, when the live lesson is done, you can watch the replay. During that time, put it into the answers, and I will check everybody's answers. That means everybody who's watching on the replay can get an opportunity to try one of these questions. Okay, all right, YFS as well with the thumbs up. Perfect. So before we go, does anybody have any questions about instead of? Or does anybody have any questions about anything, about any English topic or about Japan where I'm living now? Any question you have, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you for doing a lesson today. You are very welcome. Yeah, this is my first Sunday lesson. And yeah, I think I'll try to make it a regular lesson. And it's a little bit later than Saturday. Saturday early. You know, if you're on the same time, if you're in the same time zone, 7 a.m. is really early. So I tried to move it back to 8:30 for Sunday. And I'm going to experiment different times so I can reach more people. But you're very welcome, YFS. Thank you for joining me. So any questions about today's lesson or about any English topic? XYZ, thank you. Thank you, XYZ, for joining and being active during the lesson. All right. If there are no questions, or if you can't think of any questions now, you can always ask me when the lesson's done during the replay. You can ask me when you're doing your homework as well. And it doesn't have to be only about instead of. If you have any questions about another English topic that you just thought of or some vocabulary, maybe you have a question about Japan. For the English questions, I can definitely answer all your questions. For Japan, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Okay, it looks like there are no questions right now. Thank you all for joining. And whoever's watching during the replay as well, thank you for joining as well. I hope you guys all learned how to use instead of. It's very, very useful. I do recommend using it a lot. And there are more exercises that I have. So if you want more practice, just let me know. We'll give you those situations. But we have a comment. Wait. Yes, XYZ. Wait. I'm sure you have a question here, so I will wait for that question. But yes, again, instead of is very common. So any, please rewatch this if it was confusing. You can ask me for more exercises and we can arrange that somehow. Right here, XYZ's question is, speaking lesson is difficult to do in a live lesson, right? Yes and no. Yes and no. Right now, yes, because it's only me speaking. You're speaking at home. Unfortunately, I cannot hear you. But XYZ, it's great that you asked me this question because I am planning to do lessons where I actually have you join me. So I do a lot of lessons at my school, but I'm planning to offer some private lessons or small group lessons where you will actually join me. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it. Well, I'm going to create a member program where those people will have access to free, speaking live lessons where you join me online. So it would be for subscribers, for members as well. But I am planning to do that, XYZ. So we will get a chance to see each other if you are interested in that. Are you interested in that? If you're interested in actually doing an actual online where I see you type lesson, please let me know. Please let me know in the comment section if that interests you. Right now, I'm thinking about doing it. How can I join? Yeah, once I create the membership, I will put it on my page. You'll see the area where you can do it, and you'll be able to just click on there and go through the process. I haven't got it set up, but I am planning to do it. I'm hoping people want to do that. If people want to do it, then I'll do it. I think it'll be to meet people from different parts of the world, and we all have the same goal, to improve English. And I hope I can help you with that. I'm confident that I can help you with that. All right, so YFS, it looks like you are interested in that as well. So that is positive. That is good news. So I will try to get that organized if I can. Any other questions? And remember, next week I will be doing a live during the week. Most likely it'll be Thursday. And next week, again, I do plan on doing a Saturday and Sunday live lesson. YFS, great news. Yes, yeah, I think it'll be really cool to be able to see and actually connect with people speaking instead of just through comments. So that would be really great. XYZ, thank you as well. All right. If you have any other questions, just leave them in the comment section for me to read after the live is done. All right. I had a great time. It's for me, even though it's rainy outside, it's a miserable day here in Tokyo. This was a great start. It's got me energized. So it's a great start to the day for me. So until the next lesson, which will be middle of the week next week, or remember, I'm posting a lot of lessons as well online. Check those out as well. But until our next lesson, see ya.